Wake up, 49ers fans. The week you've been waiting for all year. The week you've been waiting for since 2019. Let's be totally honest. It's finally here. Welcome, Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. Larry, not that you need a passport, but bring all forms of identifications, including dental records. We're going to Vegas, baby. We might have to identify a couple bodies.
To Vegas. Oh, what a great week this is going to be. You, me, my son, hanging in Vegas, all kinds of media, all kinds of parties, all kinds of Niners, all kinds of Chiefs. We're off and running today, and as you'll hear throughout the week, I've got two sponsors, Damon, that are sponsoring this entire week from Las Vegas. And so let me just shout them out right here. Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles, located at 205 Cypress Avenue in Monterey on Pacific Grove, California, and Monterey Peninsula. Give Anthony Catania a call at 831-521-5264. And also valleyhillroofing.net. Give them a call, 209-481-6851 for all your roofing needs. They're a Go Green contractor, and the websites are linked in the description. So check them out. And thank you to them for sponsoring the Krueger Show and the road trip to Vegas.
Sponsors are a good thing. Welcome aboard indeed. You have chosen wisely. An awful lot of impressions will be coming your way. Vegas is just going to be ripe with content, Larry. To say that I'm excited to go talk to several media members is one thing. I'm actually just as excited to set up shop on the street and talk to fans and see where people have come in from for this Super Bowl. Obviously, yes. The prices are exorbitant. There are going to be a lot of, let's just call them Super Bowl travelers who have zero intention of making it to any game or necessarily any party, but they're just going for the week, for the event that is the nation's eyes turning to Las Vegas for Super Bowl week. Obviously, all the networks are getting ready. Radio Row is getting ready. You and I are getting ready. Our schedules are filling up. Sponsorships are filling up. So it's a very, very fun time for all involved indeed. Now, one of the big stories leading into this final week and ramp up to the Super Bowl is the story that Kyle Shanahan was flirting with Tom Brady. This kind of rippled through the headlines without much effect. About a week and a half ago, Larry, Peter King finally got Kyle talking about it on one of his I'm riding to work with the coach interviews that he does. And right. Kyle Shanahan said, yeah, I was serious about it. As we talked, I'm looking at Brock. He's got his arm in a sling, and I'm really not sure I've got a quarterback who's going to be ready for the start of the 2023 season. And that's what started all of this. So, I can't help but notice that in all of that, there was no consideration of Trey Lance is maybe the fallback position. That was just done in Kyle's mind already at that point. He's trying to soft land it. He even said, hey, Brock, how great would it be if you're not ready to go? You get an apprenticeship for 1 year after Tom Brady. You're our guy long term, but 1 year, Brady, kind of cool. Look, I understand it's a sexy story. I understand it sort of feels like maybe there's an element of distrust in Brock or anything like that. I don't think there's really much there to this, Larry. I really don't. If you have an injured quarterback and Tom Brady might play 1 more year, that's a phone call you got to make if you're a team with an aspiration and a question at QB, right?
No doubt. It was a unique situation, right? You had a quarterback you liked, a quarterback you didn't believe in, and you had Tom Brady sitting there. So, I don't doubt that there's obviously credence to it. And I don't doubt that the 49ers had interest, and it made sense because I kind of got the feeling, and I don't know if you got this feeling coming out of Philly last year that, quarterback issues, Damon, were not going to be an acceptable excuse for why this thing went off the rails this year. And I think Jed may have expressed that to John and to Kyle that, hey, you know what? Do whatever you need to do and tell me what check I need to cut and, this and that, because let's not have another year that's derailed by the quarterback. So they knew they liked Brock. They knew they didn't trust Trey. They knew Brock's health was very much in question, and Tom Brady was like the ultimate safety net, and then it wound up being Sam Darnold instead, and of course the whole story got reversed once Brock proved his health and got on the field right away, and in a lot of ways they may have dodged a bullet, because let's be honest, Tom Brady would have been 46 or 47 this year, and he didn't look good in his final year. And I really highly doubt they could have done it this year with Brady. I mean, not to doubt the great Brady, but Father Time wins all battles.
So I think that there would have been an element to, all right, this is a bit disrespectful to Brock, or maybe it is sort of an admission of truth that although you believed in him, you didn't really believe in him. And there are some people who are going to pick up that baton and run with it. I don't even think it's really there. Larry, the key to this whole thing is the injury, is Brock's surgery. And with the surgery, I think that just takes any timeline and it puts a question mark next to it. And when you have a question mark next to a timeline, that means you really don't know anything about it. And what you do know is Tom Brady might be available. So I don't think that there's any subversion here or disrespect to Brock or underestimating Brock on the 49ers part at all. Like you said, I think they got to the NFC Championship game and said, well, we can't be in this situation and run out of quarterbacks again. Like, that's a resource you can't run out of at this level of competition. It's like being in the Indianapolis 500 without gasoline. Like, you can't run out of that. And I just look, it's a quarterback controversy the week before the Super Bowl, but it's really not. But that's how it's being picked up and sold. And I saw that Pro Football Talk tried to make a big deal, like someone in the media was finally brave enough to ask Kyle about this, and Kyle wanted to talk about it and finally clear the air. Like, come on. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't.
Well, but here's the thing, Damon, and you know it because you've been in the biz a while. Tom Brady, football's national, and Tom Brady's a national name, and people can relate, and that will be, you got all these media people congregating in Vegas. They need a Super Bowl Monday talking point, and Peter King provided one that their audience can understand and relate to. But the bottom line is Tom Brady in 2022 was 45 years old. And, they went 8-9. It wasn't an awesome year for him. He had 25 touchdowns and 9 picks. The year before that, he had 43 touchdowns. His numbers had dropped dramatically. His touchdown percentage had dropped dramatically, and he wasn't the same player, which is, I think, a big impetus for him to actually pull the ripcord on his career and finally retire after 23 seasons in the NFL. So, but I do understand why this is being bandied about today, because if you're talking Super Bowl in Tampa, I don't know, or New York or Boston or one of these places, it's like, can you really get your audience fired up on the Monday about Purdy versus Mahomes? Probably not. That's a slow build. But, man, there's a story involving the 49ers and Tom Brady.
Right.
And, oh, yeah, that's totally, relatable. And we all have opinions on Brady, and we all know his narrative. And you know what I mean? So to me, it's almost like a ready-made Monday Super Bowl national report.
Did you read the article? It was either from last Super Bowl or the one before that, where I think it was Brian Curtis on The Ringer, or it might have been Kevin Clark when he was with The Ringer, but somebody wrote the opus of how Media Row works and basically broke down into the author realizing that he's more of a Wednesday Super Bowl week guest than he is a Friday Super Bowl week guest. And as the deeper you get into the week, the bigger the guests become, crescendoing with the biggest celebrities showing up on Radio Row Thursday and Friday. And, maybe you're a Monday guest, which means none of this is important yet. The least of celebrities are walking around the row on a Monday. And it was a very, very How about this? It was a good column. I think if you read it as just a person who is just reading a sports article, if you worked in the industry like us, the thing read like the gospel and the truth. Like it was, that's exactly how Radio Row works. And you're picking guests and you're thinking, all right, this guest really fits today's show, but tomorrow we're definitely looking for a bigger brand of guest. By Wednesday, every single host on Radio Row will have turned to their producer and said, all right, it's time to get serious now. We're not doing any interviews with the poo-pourri girl or the dude with the sandwich or anything like that. There's, we're now talking Super Bowl and what's going to happen. And you're right, Larry. This is a perfect Monday Super Bowl story. It's an easy entry point. It's the bunny slope of talking Super Bowl, and it's the perfect Peter. Look at it this way. Peter King is a rascally rabbit. He knows exactly what he's doing. He might have had this story on Wednesday of last week. He knew it was a perfect Monday Super Bowl story, and he saved it for it.
Yep. No, this is a guy who's done it before. Jay says, good one from Jay here. He says, Larry is a Friday guest for sure.
I was thinking, Larry, of what we are. I was really thinking. And let's be completely honest. Neither one of us is opening a movie, nor does either of us have a network show that we're promoting. We're not Friday guests. But because we know the Niners and this game, we're Thursday guests. I think
we're Friday. I'll say we're Friday guests. We're Friday guests because Fridays when they're like, all right, guys, enough of the the Zales Jewelers former, enough of Marcus Allen and Leonard Marshall.
Quit digging around. Talk about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, get Derek Brooks off of there and let's get somebody in there who's going to talk about this matchup in some great detail, and that's where we pop in. Or at least that's where I pop in. That's my expertise, is to actually talk about the matchup. So I think I'm probably a Friday. I'm a Friday guest for when we get down to the nuts and bolts of Niners Chiefs.
The only thing I can tell you is we all wish we were Friday guests. We all want to be Friday guests. Maybe you're more of a Friday guest in your own mind. Maybe Wednesday's better for you, Larry. We'll find out, right? We'll see how many shows are booking each of us come Friday. I do know this. We're booked on KPI. We are due at the Bellagio Fountain at like break of dawn on Friday morning to hop on with Gianna Franco and Nicole Zalumis on the channel that will be hosting the Super Bowl here in the Bay Area. They have already requested an appearance from us. That wake up that Friday will be coming from an undisclosed penthouse overlooking the Bellagio Fountain, where you and I are going to be doing Friday's wake up, and we're going to be announcing some plans for wake up during this Super Bowl week that we're both very excited about. I know that Lamont and Tonelli think I'm more of a Thursday guest. Thursday morning, Radio Row, I'm going on with Lamont and Tonelli. I'll be doing a few other things on Radio Row. Let's see. Veasan has got me booked for a Thursday evening, about a half an hour with them. So that's, I think, a good time for you, me, and Kev to work it on over to Circa, hit up Stadium Swim for maybe a bit. Even if we're not doing anything there, you got to see it. It's like, if you can invent a place to hang out an afternoon in Las Vegas, Stadium Swim is something else. It really is. So we got an awful lot of stuff coming up, Larry. We're so looking forward to it. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe on your way in so you don't have to forget about it if you make your way out. So welcome to Wake Up here. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. And look, man, nothing's ever simple, right? Nothing in football is ever simple. Nothing's ever easy. But I really think that the recipe to beating the Kansas City Chiefs, it's a lot easier to say than do. But Larry, I don't see how this team wins. I really don't. I don't see how the Kansas City Chiefs beat the 49ers without either a monster performance from Travis Kelce or the type of defensive evening that leaves Kyle Shanahan humiliated. Like you reached the Super Bowl and you only scored 13 points. Like Kansas City's defense either comes out with a pocket full of kryptonite that makes everybody go, holy mackerel, or Travis Kelce has a monster afternoon And I really don't see the path to victory for the Chiefs without one of those two things happening. Other things can happen and they can still get into the win column, but one of those two things is happening for the Chiefs to win this game. Travis Kelce goes MVP of the game level bonkers, and that means Mahomes played well, obviously. Or Kansas City's defense has a straight up, nobody expected that. Steve Spagnuolo is a goddamn genius who deserves a bust in the Pro Football Hall of Fame someday as a defensive coordinator level defensive effort. That's how the Chiefs are going to win this game. I can think of about 30 different ways the 49ers might be able to win this game. I feel like the Chiefs got two paths, basically.
Well, it's funny. I watched, I spent last night watching Chiefs Ravens. And, the one thing about it, Damon, is that Kansas City used to be, they have everything, right? They've got, all kinds of different weapons, and they came out with a very high percentage short passing game. Just little releases off the line of scrimmage to Kelce, little tosses in the flat to Pacheco. Taking no chances, giving Baltimore no chances to go after Mahomes. Very, very conservative. And they also went big personnel against Buffalo, where they put 3 tight ends on the field and just pounded the run. And with the way the Niners did not defend the run in the playoff games before, I think there's a very good chance that they see the same kind of thing, which is high percentage stuff underneath, real close to the line of scrimmage, dink and dunk, Isaiah Pacheco, third down, Mahomes runs. Here's the thing. Kansas City has 8 straight. They've scored 8 straight off first offensive possessions. So that's, they score early, and they're looking for Kelce in the red zone, and they want a short passing game. And they come out and they just want 0 negative plays. I mean, that's really it. They want 0 negative plays, and then they have some guys on defense that can really make plays. So it's a it's a really, really good football team, and they're very conservative. And then their defense has only allowed 7 points per game in the playoffs. So 7 points allowed per game in the playoffs in the second half. So their defense shuts it down, and then they're leaning on Mahomes to convert third downs with his legs, and they're running Pacheco behind a good interior offensive line, and they're just dumping it short, real short. I mean, just Kelce on a 2-yard pop, Rashee Rice on a 3-yard pop. And so that's kind of what I think that what they're going to do. They're going to come out.
Said Patrick Mahomes, dink and dunk quarterback, Larry.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all know he's got big skills, but he doesn't have big weapons, and they've dialed down their offense. And basically they just are going to come out and they're going to say, look, we're not going to take any chances. We're going to have 0 negative plays. We're going to let you make negative plays. And then we've got defensive playmakers. Now, they don't have Charles Menahue, but they do have Chris Jones. They do have Karl Loftus. They do have Trent McDuffie. They do have L'Jarius Sneed. All of their guys made big plays in this game.
Justin Reed. He's a Stanford guy, for those of you who remember that name from when he was down on the farm. You want a smart safety, and they've got one. It makes that secondary of Kansas City with Sneed and McDuffie a lot more dangerous than their numbers actually look, Larry. They don't turn the ball over an awful lot, but they do a great job straight up defending their guys. The defensive line absolutely got its push in Buffalo and in Baltimore. You can expect them to be better than advertised, probably in the Super Bowl as well. It's going to be a hell of a matchup. It really is. But I do think that the 49ers, just when it comes to what can your offense do, as opposed to what can the offense of the Kansas City Chiefs do with the best race car driver out there is Patrick Mahomes. But I do think the better race car is the San Francisco 49ers. So can a driver's instincts beat the better machine is kind of the race that these two teams are running against each other in the Super Bowl. I think an early indicator, Larry, is you're just going to know whether or not this 49ers team is in this game this afternoon. First couple of drives. I mean, just are plays coming easy? Is the running game popping? Is McCaffrey falling forward for not just a couple yard gain, but like a 7-yard gain? Is it coming naturally to the Niners? Does it look in rhythm early? If it does, I think that they can outscore the Chiefs in this game and end up winning it.
I agree. I do agree. I mean, I think the 49ers have to, get a lead and, play from a lead. I mean, that's the big one, I think, is that don't play from behind against Kansas City. Get a lead.
I think they need the ball first, Larry. I do.
They're not going to take it first. I mean, there's no question about it. They don't take it first. They're going to defer to the second half. That's what Kyle does. It's what he's comfortable with. I kind of agree with you, but that's not typically what he does or what he's going to do. But you know what? Mahomes threw 14 interceptions this year. And if you go look at Kansas City, they lost some games this year. They lost games when they fell behind. They lost games when they failed to score. Kansas City's 10-0 when they score 21 points or more, but they got 0 wins all year when they failed to score 21. So if you can keep them down offensively, and make them turn it over a little bit. I mean, as I said, Mahomes struggled. He had, their tackles really struggled. It's Donovan Smith against Chase Young. It's Nick Bosa against Juwan Taylor. Juwan Taylor led the NFL this year with 20 penalties, 7 more than any other player. I think there's a very good chance that both the Niner defensive ends win and put pressure on Mahomes.
It's weird, though. Juwan Taylor isn't a bad player. He's just a player with a lot of penalties. He's not bad, Larry.
No,
he's not. He just is a penalty-laden player. I mean, but he's not bad at it. It's really weird. So that's a matchup that Nick Bosa, if he wins and takes advantage of, and he's getting home to Patrick Mahomes. Look, if the 49ers defense is getting home on Patrick Mahomes, if at any point in time you're talking to your friends during the Super Bowl, like, man, Mahomes got no time today. He's just so uncomfortable back there. Things are going incredibly well for the San Francisco 49ers. It's hard to put pressure on Mahomes or even get home on him in a playoff game. So if his tackles were that bad, we would know it, Yeah,
no, I mean, well, they're this has been the weakness for them this year. But they also sacked the quarterback. I think they've got the second or third most sacks in the league. So you don't want to fall behind. You don't want to get into a situation where Chris Jones is just dominating you. And that's a tough one because Jones has been really, really good. So they just have to figure out a way to get off to a better start. Kansas City's not a perfect football team. They're really not. I mean, if you look at their numbers, Damon, they're not a perfect football team this year. This is not a vintage Chiefs offense. Mahomes has been pretty ordinary, but he's been really good in the playoffs. And if you watch the way Reed's calling it, they're very, very conservative. They're not going to. Here's the thing. They're coming out in this mode of, we've been here before. We're not nervous. We have a quarterback who's not nervous, but we're not going to take any chances at all. We're going to throw it short. You're not going to get turnovers. You're not going to get sacks. We're going to get to third down. We're going to run Mahomes or Pacheco. We're going to stay on the field. We're going to score first. And then we're going to play really, really good defense. I mean, they shut out Baltimore on their home field in the second half of that game for the most part. I mean, I think Baltimore got a field goal. But then when you look at Kansas City, they're 15th in points per game. They score 21.8 points per game, where the Niners are third in the NFL. The Niners score almost 29 a game. So, and then the other thing that jumps out is the Chiefs are 17th against the run. So they've given up 113 yards on the ground. To me, you got the best running back in football, and the Chiefs' pass D is number 4. Their total D is number 2, but their run D is number 17. Run the freaking ball at them. And then the other key is somehow, if you can get a lead, Then you got a shot at Mahomes taking more chances, and if he takes more chances, the odds are he'll turn it over. The Niners are 5th in the NFL at plus 10 in turnovers. The Chiefs are 28th in the NFL at minus 11 in turnover differential, which is, I think, a big part of why Reed is kind of running the plan that he's running right now, is that he knows that his team can turn it over, especially if they fall behind. So he's being real conservative at the beginning of games.
I think that there's a little bit of that element of doubt in there, like you're talking about. I also think he's a smart coach who knows I got the right defense to win this football game. And when you got a defense that wins football games, I think you're just smart coaches are predisposed to taking fewer chances, even if Patrick Mahomes is the guy taking that chance for you. You get more conservative when you have a defense to lean on. And like you said, it's kind of a pedestrian Chiefs offense that shows up in the Super Bowl with the best defense the Kansas City Chiefs have had in the Andy Reid era, without a doubt. And they have been even better in the postseason than they were in the regular season. The Chiefs defense gave up 17.3 points per game in the regular season, and in the postseason, where they played 3 games already, only 13.7 points per game given up by the Kansas City defense. Miami was held to 7. Buffalo got off with 24, but Baltimore was held to just 10 points at home in the AFC Championship game. So it's a really good defense, and getting conservative and letting the defense sort of dictate the afternoon and not putting them in any sort of bad position is the way that the Kansas City Chiefs have reached the Super Bowl. It's a formula that's been less razzle-dazzle for them than in the past, but has certainly worked to great effect. Now, what you don't want to have happen is for Patrick Mahomes to look at the 49ers jerseys and just think, hot supper. And the last time Patrick Mahomes played the 49ers, he destroyed them. Mahomes torched the Niners the last time that they met, throwing for 423 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 44-23 win in Santa Clara. His plus 0.701 EPA, expected points added, was the single highest EPA allowed to any quarterback that the 49ers faced over the last 3 seasons. So Patrick Mahomes, he sees 49ers jerseys and he's like, yeah, I like this. I mean, he plays really, really well against the 49ers. And, is that independent of the talent around him? No, it never is. But some guys, again, they see that jersey, they play better. It's just how it goes. And that's how the Niners do sort of trigger Mahomes. So then I expect Mahomes to play well. Now does Travis Kelce have a monster game? Or does that Kansas City defense really, bare its teeth, and the 49ers are having trouble scratching together more than 17 points in this game?
By the way, in that game against the Niners, Niners ran 72 plays. Chiefs ran 58. Chiefs, though, had 529 yards. They went for 9.1 yards per play. I mean, they were totally dominant in that game. 49ers had 3 turnovers. Kansas City had 2. So Kansas City was +1 in that game turnover wise. But yeah, Chiefs ran it over 5 yards a carry in that game. Niners had 10 penalties. And if you go back to the Chiefs Ravens game last week, man, you know what? I mean, the Ravens had their chances, but Lamar was a little inaccurate. And then the Ravens had some really costly penalties. And if you beat yourself with penalties, it's hard to beat Kansas City, because they're going to come out and they're going to play a pretty clean game. They're not going to have a bunch of penalties and shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, if you beat Kansas City, you will beat Kansas City. You will not just you will not, they will not come into the game and be like, you know what? The moment was too big. We beat ourselves. No,
right. They're not handing it to you like Dan Campbell and the Lions kind of handed it to you.
Yeah. They're not going to beat themselves. I mean, Mahomes in this game against Baltimore, 30 of 39. He only threw 1 touchdown, but he had no picks, and they only had 2 sacks. I mean, if there was one thing that really stood out in the game, Pacheco didn't do anything great. He ran for 2.8 a carry, but they didn't fumble. They didn't have a lot of negative yardage plays. They didn't fall behind the sticks. And then, you know what? Also, and the one reason I do feel good about the Niners being able to beat Kansas City, Travis Kelce is a huge part of what they do. And it used to be that Tyreek and Juju Smith-Schuster and all these other guys that you had to worry about. And then Kelce could just kind of fit in there. He's the total deal. They threw it to him 11 times. He caught all 11 balls for 116 yards, but he wasn't nearly this good in the regular season. So Kelce is a big money player, but the Niners have Fred Warner. And I think they're going to do a good job at defending Travis Kelce in the red zone. And I think if you do that, you got a great chance to beat this team.
What's the 49ers defense looking like against Kansas City screens early? Are screens picking up big chunk plays? Are screens frustrating the 49ers defense? Because if they are, that's a really big uh-oh going against the 49ers, because Andy Reid runs the best screen game, and I think that the 49ers defense is a little susceptible to falling into that screen game trap. So Steve Wilks has to have Johnny on the spot screen response, if you will, all game long.
And it's not just the screens; it's everything in the short game. Everything in the short game. When you're playing Mahomes, you're fearful of that big arm. You're fearful of him scrambling. But the way they started this Baltimore game, the first two series, everything was a free release off the line of scrimmage. And you could see their receivers driving deep down the field to create room, but then Mahomes just dumping it off. And so what you got to do is you cannot give Travis Kelce a free release off the line of scrimmage. You have to hit him. You got to get up on the line of scrimmage and challenge their receivers right out of the chute. You got to take away their short game and Pacheco. And if you can do that, you can force them to go to other elements of their passing attack that aren't nearly as developed. They don't have near the confidence in their wide receivers. I mean, their number one wide receiver is a rookie, and MVS doesn't do much. So it's all about don't give them the high percentage short stuff and let them move the ball down the field.
Like I said, early in the game, how the 49ers offense is moving the ball. Just it's bigger than just are they scoring? Is it a touchdown? Just how are they moving the ball against Spagnuolo's defense? Does it look like they are on schedule? Are they avoiding third and long? All of these things, I think, go greatly into the gumbo of how the Niners win. And look, against Patrick Mahomes in a defense this good, any 1 3 and out, a 3 and out at the wrong time, at the wrong spot on the field, at the wrong spot on the clock in a half, a 3 and out can just be devastating against Kansas City. Because not only, did they score and then you give the ball right back and maybe they score again. Now you're down 2 possessions, just like that. Like it happens that fast. So, God, I'm already starting to feel the pressure of the Super Bowl, Larry. Here it comes, baby. Super Bowl week. It's time. This is about as much stress and anxiety and fun as you can pack into an entire week of sports all at once. And then it's just a 3-hour, 3.5, 4-hour explosion of hot football action, a whole bunch of commercials. And the next thing you know, it's over instantly. And the season's over. And the finality of it all is the only thing that you're left, slack-jawed staring at, going, oh my God, I can't believe it's over. I can't believe, how did that ended? What happened there? So it just, not being blown away by the momentum of the Kansas City Chiefs, either their offensive or defensive momentum, how the 49ers take that first real heavy shot that Mahomes lands and not get staggered or stammered like a punch-drunk boxer in the ring is going to go a long, long way as to seeing what happens in this game.
I'll tell you one other thing that I got to see in this game. The 49ers have a number 1 sack guy. His name's Nick Bosa, right? But their number 2 sack guy is Javon Hargrave. And Javon Hargrave has a total of 0 sacks in the postseason. He had 0 last week against Detroit.
In 8 quarters of football, the nicest thing we can say about Javon Hargrave's postseason is I think we might have used his name once. That's it. He's done nothing. He's done nothing in this postseason yet.
Well, not only that, he's only had 1 sack in the last 7 games. You know, that's half a season. He's got 7 on the year, but he's only had 1 in the last 7 games. He's got to be a force inside. They gave this cat $40 million. He's got to show up. I mean, he's got to show up. This was their big free agent signing. He cannot get shut out. He's got to be better against the run. He's got to get some heat on the quarterback. He's got to make some of that cash right here, right now. I mean, this is it.
Nick Bosa may not be delivering the sack total that you want to see in the box score, but you still see Nick Bosa in the football game. Like, there he is behind the line of scrimmage. There he is doing his level best to disturb that play behind the line of scrimmage. There he is moving the pocket. There's Nick Bosa picking up a holding call. Like, you still see and feel Nick Bosa in these games, even though he hasn't been getting home. You haven't seen or felt Hargrave at all this postseason. He has not been a part of it. But for a play to the positive and then the negative play that everyone is so thoroughly highlighted about Chase Young dogging it on the Gibbs 15-yard touchdown run for the Detroit Lions, we haven't seen or really used his name much at all. So, yeah, there is a huge defensive line. Let's finally show up to a football game that you guys are playing an element here. But, you know, Steve Wilks' defense really is. It's built from that back to the front. And maybe that's been a little bit of the odd relationship that Steve Wilks has had with his own defense. He's a back to the front defensive coordinator, where the 49ers are built more front to back as a defense with the strength of that offensive line. I saw this, Larry. I was kind of surprised by this because you and I both think Talanoa Hufanga is really good. And you and I also both think that Jair Brown is a pretty decent replacement, all things considered, right? Logan Ryan less so. Well, how about this? Since Talanoa Hufanga got hurt back in week 12, San Francisco's defensive ranks 23rd in EPA, expected points added, and that doesn't even include the throwaway game for everyone that was week 18. They're 20th on dropbacks after ranking no worse than 5th over the first 11 weeks. 4 of the last 5 Niners opponents have generated a positive EPA after only 4 of the first 14 opponents had a positive number. So Talanoa Hufanga's absence is something that I think we've tried to dismiss or say it's been addressed by Jair Brown, maybe the Logan Ryan signing, although that's looked less and less like it's been helpful. Talanoa Hufanga's absence has really hurt this defense. I think it's time that we admit it.
Well, there's no question. I mean, he's a super smart guy. I do think Jair Brown's more physical in the run game than Talanoa, but Talanoa was really great at reading. You know, he's like a coach on the field. He's one of the smartest football players on their defense. So, you know, he was around the ball a lot. He made big plays. He's not a fast guy, but man, he's so heady. He was always flowing in the right direction. He was great at attacking the mesh point when teams were in obvious run formations and run downs. He would trust his eyes and just go and attack that mesh point and create negative plays. So, yeah, I mean, Hufanga is, to miss him is significant. Absolutely.
Way, you know what, Larry? I'm going to do. Sometimes Ray would be talking, and I'm like, Ray, you're going to have to explain that to the audience. No one knows that vocabulary word except me. And sometimes I didn't even know it. So I would say that for him to explain it so I understood it too. When you say mesh point, Larry, I know that there's someone out there saying, what do you mean mesh point? I know what you mean, but tell the people what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, just the point when the quarterback and the running back come together to hand off the ball, that is the mesh point. And sometimes it's a handoff and sometimes it's a play action fake, right? But when the quarterback is putting the ball in the gut of the running back, whether the running back's keeping it or the quarterback's keeping it, that is the mesh point. And so Hufanga at his best is one of the most unbelievable players in the league at just, you know what? I don't know if that's going to be a run or a pass, but if I can get to the mesh point as it's happening, I can interrupt the whole thing. And it doesn't matter what they're going to do. It doesn't matter if they're planning on passing it or running it. I'm right there. I'm attacking it. And for the RPO game, which is the run pass option, where you sometimes have the mesh point where the quarterback's literally, he's not turning his back and handing it off. The running back's running in front. You know, that's a big, let's hold the linebackers. Let's freeze the defense. Well, how do you defend that? You defend that by having a safety that just attacks that moment and forces that decision. And he's great at it. I mean, it's uncanny how often he can time that and get there right as the quarterback is either keeping it or handing it off and either coming away with a sack or a gigantic tackle for a loss. It's a real skill. Jair Brown, on the other hand, is bigger and more physical and faster. And he's got a great nose for the football as well, but he'll hit you like a linebacker. So they have different skills and weaknesses. Hufanga's a little bit more trustworthy. Brown's a little bit more of a hitter force, player against the run. And Hufanga's also got great ball skills. He had 10 interceptions each of his last 2 years at Penn State. So, I believe in Brown. I think the moment's not too big for him, and I expect him to play well. In fact, I would say this. If you're looking for just like a sleeper bet, Hufanga would be a great call for a sleeper bet to win the MVP.
Jair Brown, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, Jair Brown. I said Hufanga. Jair Brown, because Jair Brown...
you get great odds on Talanoa Hufanga right now, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you're going to get great odds on Jair Brown. But, I mean, Jair Brown could wind up... I mean, think about the way this game could go. They're going to run Pacheco a lot. Why? Because the Niner run defense on the numbers says, hey, you can. I mean, Detroit just ran for ridiculous yards, 180 yards or whatever it was. So they're going to run it a lot early. So Brown's a great run defender, and he's very aggressive. So he can wind up, Damon, with 8, 9, 10, 12 tackles in the run game. But then if the Niners offense can have success and get a lead and Kansas City's coming from behind it all in the second half, you could have a guy like Hufanga or like Brown with a pick or two because he's got such a great nose for the ball. So you could look up in this game and have Niner weapons, all the numbers kind of spread throughout Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey, and they all have good but not special numbers, which is kind of the way it goes in this offense. But Jair Brown could wind up with 12 tackles and 2 picks and be the MVP. So you might be able to get, some ridiculous odds on Jair Brown as the MVP. He'd be a live bet in my mind.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Damon Bruce from my friend Larry Krueger, who obviously is already drinking. If he's really recommending going ahead and plunking down.
Well, you could put down $5 and make a ton.
Right. I understand what you're saying. The chances of him being named Super Bowl MVP are basically infinitesimal. But yes.
But that's a great prop.
A path to his, a gaudy total of tackles and a couple of interceptions. Yes, but it would take nothing short of that for him to do it. I've seen a few other long shot bets come in and reported in a few places. A better with DraftKings put $25,000 on Isaiah Pacheco to be named Super Bowl MVP. He's going off at 40-1. By the way, $25,000 at 40-1 would pay a cool $1 million. 15,000.
Malcolm Smith, by the way, remember that for the former Niner, the Seahawk? He won the Super Bowl MVP.
Yes, he did. He did.
Larry Brown won the Super Bowl MVP.
It's happened.
It's happened. It usually goes to the quarterback.
Look at it this way. If a safety wins a Super Bowl MVP, I can all but guarantee you the Raiders are going to give him way too much money in his next contract.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? $15,000 to win $975,000. This is 15 on Rashee Rice going off to be MVP at 65-1. That would be a huge upset, and that's something that the 49ers simply cannot allow. We've been talking, and by the way, welcome to Wake Up Here. Damon, Bruce, Larry Krueger. Hit like, hit subscribe, all those good things. Memberships are indeed available on both channels. And not that we're wedding DJs, but we do take requests. It was asked of me, Larry, if we could do a starred chat somewhere around the halfway point. Don't just save them all to the end, because people, it's a Monday morning. They got to go about their business. And if they are giving us some of their business with a starred super chat, let's get into that. And we will in just a second here before we get back to it. And so let's go through the super chats. And then I want to talk about, since we basically spent the first hour in like what could go wrong, Chiefs defense, little anxiety mode. I think in the next hour here, Larry, we got to talk about what might go right for the Niners and how the Niners unlock this Super Bowl win. And that's what we'll do after we go through all of these chats. Take it away, Larry.
All right. Tony Beasy 21 says, hit the fuel bar, 2-for-1 drinks, shoot the basketball to get free shots. It's a dope place. Also go to Cosmo and get the flower drink. #GoNiners.
So I've been to the Cosmo. I don't know anything about this flower drink. I do know the Chandelier Bar is probably where you get it, but what the flower drink at the Cosmo? Larry, I'm going to buy you a flower drink at the Cosmo.
Wait a second. I'm writing these suggestions down. Fuel Bar and Cosmo.
Cosmo, Chandelier Bar, flower drink.
Would you please
get?
I'd like to do them all of these.
Would you please get my lovely co-host Larry here a flower drink?
Yes. Hit the fuel bar, 2-for-1 drinks. Wait a second. I'll write that down. Now, that's going to be something that we're going to need info on later this week. Where can we get 2-for-1? All right. Double B Studio says, if Wilkes D blows the Super Bowl, Bill Belichick. I'm telling you, I put it out there. I'll just put it out there, let you guys chew on it. I did see one of the stories of today, Damon, is that Bill Belichick's son has accepted the defensive coordinator job at University of Washington. So he's, he spent the past 12 years as a defensive assistant with New England. So, if Belichick's going anywhere as a football coach this year, he will not be bringing Steve with him. So I don't know what you can make of that, but there you go. Moises Rosales, do you know if Kyle told Purdy directly when he made the team in 2022, Hard Knock style, or was he just notified when everyone else was? I'm sure they told him directly. I'm sure
totally. They told him. Yeah, first of all, you treat every player like players, and quarterbacks are treated like extra players. That's how that goes.
And there was it's funny. Brock was asked, "Did Kyle indicate to you that he liked you?" Because it came out this week that Jed told Kyle, Kyle told Jed, "Hey, you know what? Our number 3 quarterback is actually, I think, our best quarterback." And then somebody said, "Did ask Brock later in the week, did Kyle ever say that to you?" And he's like, "No, he never did. He just kind of, he said, hey, we like what you're doing. You're doing everything right." But he never really indicated, that he was a big fan. Moises Rosales, highest and lowest point for you two doing this work. Lowest point. God, lowest point. I did do a live stream with somebody who was like 10, who just asked me to do a live stream, but even that was kind of fun. But I was sitting there going, Jesus, what the hell has happened to me? I'm doing a live stream with a 10-year-old. But I would say that was probably the low point. The high point, man, there's been so many high points. I mean, really, I'll say this, going on the radio a couple weeks ago with Guru on 95.7 and taking call after call after call after call on the radio on 95.7 The Game, and having people act like they were more familiar with me than Guru on his own show was a big whoa. And that's kind of told me not that I'm great or that Guru in some way is not great, because I think Guru's the best, but it was like a statement of where radio is and is going, and a statement of where YouTube is and is going.
Right. It's not like you can use the radio to promote your YouTube show as much as the YouTube show promotes a radio appearance these days.
Yeah, it's totally the YouTube has gotten to such a big thing that people are calling up all the time on the radio going, "Hey man, love the show last night. Love the this, love the that." And that was kind of cool. So I would say, that was kind of a high point just to see. And then of course some of the great people that I've collabed with this year, Steve Young, just doing a lot of the Niners stuff, getting a lot of the interviews in the locker room. I really enjoy that part of it just because I think if you can bring you guys, the fans, face to face with the players and just cut out the middleman altogether and just be like, hey, you know what? Here's Ambry Thomas for 5 minutes, and you're watching it and you're seeing, the interaction, and it's almost like on a TV type situation. In a lot of ways, that's really, really cool if you think about it. So I kind of enjoy that part of it. How about you, Damon?
So I'd like to think I haven't even had my high point yet. How about this? My high point is the overall, not just belief, but the real feeling and knowledge that this is where the future is and lies. And I would be behind the curve if I were still on radio. And thank God everything that happened to put me here, which is definitely the place to be. So, the high point is the overall optimism I have after a nearly 2-decade long on-air career, which when it was snatched from me, I thought, oh no, what do I do next? How do I provide for my family? And like now it all makes sense. And I think that that's the high point, not just believing, but really knowing and getting the data points returned to me that this can work over here. And then the examples that like you and a lot of other guys, Haberman and Middlecoff, have shared. I got to sneeze. Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you very, very much. That's been the high point, knowing that this is it. It's all going to work, and we're going to have a great time in Vegas, and maybe the high point is going to be revealed at some point in time this week.
We did have a great time in New Orleans. And hopefully this week will be even better.
The low point, though, Larry, the low point was, so I started in April doing a daily show 5 days a week. And, like anything, the launch went pretty darn well. I was very, very excited. But then now May and June come about, and it's the middle of baseball season, and it's people on vacation, and probably the 2 worst consumed months of the entire YouTube year for everybody. Like Mr. Beast has down months in May and June. There was one day like 106 people watched the channel. Like that was it. Like I'm used to doing an afternoon drive with tens of thousands of listeners at any point in time. And like literally, I remember going up to Jillian that night and saying, honey, like 107 people listened to me today. This is not good. What am I doing? She's like, just stick with it. Just stick with it. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
It's the middle of summer. The Giants stink. No one had a great day today. Maybe no one else had as fewer viewers as you did, but that, it's all going to stick. Just stick to it. It'll all come back. But that was the low point when me going like, holy shit. I've literally had more people in a bathroom with me at a football game than listen to my show today. Like that was the low point.
Okay. We got another one here. John Edwards, defense must stop at least 2 Kansas City offensive drives and get 3 sacks. CMC gets 20 plus carries. Debo with 5 runs. Short pass game to Kittle, Jennings, CMC, and Juszczyk will be critical. Niners win 31-28. There you go. Ramon Gonzalez says Bosa is right versus the best D line in the NFL. Chiefs were called for 0 holds. NFL woke up and KC was called for 3 holds in the first quarter alone in Super Bowl 55. Then Tampa had a jailbreak and ran away with it. Yeah, I mean, that was frustrating watching Bosa get no calls and then watching Tampa the next year, get a bunch of calls. We've got this one from Niner Wes. Raiders give the blueprint on Kelsey. Well, you know what? I think Fred Warner might give the blueprint on Kelsey. We'll see. Niner West says, what's Wilk's plan to stop the screens? I think overall, that's a great question. I think overall, I'd like to ask Steve this week when we get a chance to talk to him later in the week. You know, Kansas City has come out, even though, Andy Reid is the wizard and he can do all kinds of creative things. They're going to be very conservative. They're going to try to run Mahomes to convert third downs. They're going to try to run Pacheco for sure. And then they're going to pass real short. Can you take that away? Can you get aggressive and challenge them up on the line of scrimmage? If the Niners getting this super, non-aggressive point and they're just allowing Kansas City to make plays underneath, they'll nickel and dime them all afternoon long, and then they'll get a couple stops on defense and win the game. So I think you got to challenge Kansas City on the short stuff right out of the chute.
By the way, before you move on, Larry, there's a gentleman here named Peter Letterer who says, this show is keeping me upbeat in my hospital bed. Don't underestimate your value. Bang, bang, Niner game, 31-24. Well, Peter, don't know why you're in the hospital, but we hope it all goes well for you there and you get out soon. Thank you very much, and we're glad that we can be with you this morning. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, no question about it. This one from Tyler Wiseguy. The Niners should run CMC and Debo because the Chiefs' run defense is horrible. Run the ball. Play solid defense. The Niners have the better team and the better offense. Score 30 and you beat them. Yeah, there's no question.
Right. It's hard to
don't beat yourself.
It really is. I mean, the Chiefs aren't giving up 30. They didn't give up 30 points per game in the regular season, and they don't give up even close to 30 points per game. They're not even giving up 2 touchdowns through 3 postseason games. So this is a defense that you just don't say, yeah, just put 30 on them, and there you go. If that were easy to do that, a lot more teams would have done that.
Yeah. They're giving up 7 in the second point. Greg Argisi says, guys, Niners 11 double-digit wins, 6 blowout wins. Did you forget Vegas didn't? Queefs are playing well, but Niners are the better team, and Purdy's cooking. Purdy's thrown for more yards this year than Mahomes. How about that? A lot of people don't realize that. Daryl Granville, hi, gentlemen. Will Robert Beal get some run in the Super Bowl?
I look at it this way. Based on Cleveland Farrell's inability to go in this game, I would think, yeah, I think he hits the field in this game. And hopefully he hits a quarterback in this game. He's fast enough.
I'd love to see it. Cryptic, Argon is the defense. Allowed 13 points per game and 0 just exploding at 35 points per game. Almost feels like D got back to when Wilkes had to come down from the booth. Argon is their defense. It's a little hard to read there.
Yeah, I don't know. Cryptic, thank you very much.
Thank you, Cryptic.
Thanks.
JD.
Cryptic. Your message was quite cryptic. We couldn't really get through.
JD says, if Kyle forgets about Debo like he did in the Super Bowl and the two NFC championship games, the Niners will lose. Yeah, don't forget Debo. Steven says the Raiders beat the Chiefs with Jimmy doing his best to throw away the game. Jacobs ran for over 140, and the defense played solid. 49ers have too much firepower for the Chiefs to contain. 34-23 Niners.
Well, hope you're right. I tell you, how many more of these we got?
One more.
Let's get to it, and then I want to bring up.
Dick says key to number 6: don't let Mahomes get to that final drive.
Oh, the old don't give him enough time to beat you at the end of the game.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to. You're definitely gonna want to take that opportunity away. When you got a step on the Kansas City Chiefs' throat moment, you better do it because they're like Frankenstein. They just keep coming and coming and coming. Ask the Buffalo Bills about what Patrick Mahomes can do with just a couple of timeouts and a handful of seconds left. Oh man, that AFC title game was still something else. So we just had the super chat about Debo, right?
Right.
And I think that there's quite a bit there. I actually think that Debo might be the mismatch key that unlocks his Super Bowl win for the 49ers. If anything, Larry, I think that he's the guy whose motion might tip the hand that Spags is about to throw at Brock Purdy. Steve Spagnuolo is a wizard when it comes to disguising his coverages. And it looks like this play is starting in one coverage, and then the ball is snapped, and then something totally different happens. Putting Debo in motion and the amount of attention that needs to be put on Debo in motion, more than even other players going in motion because he's such a versatile player, maybe that's the key in unlocking the pre-snap decisions of Spagnuolo's defense. Again, this is what they're all paid millions of dollars for, disguising what they're doing as they're doing it. This is why they're coaches, and we just talk about football. This is why these guys are brilliant at their jobs, and we're gum flappers. But I do think that Debo is one of those guys where if the 49ers win this game, he's in the middle of it. And if the Niners lose this game, Larry, I think his absence is in the middle of that too. You know what I mean? And the same thing for George Kittle. If the 49ers win this game, he's in the middle of it. George Kittle, big day, not a day where he was left in to be a blocking tight end, but a day where he's catching the ball, he's scoring, chunk plays for Kittle. And if the Niners lose this game, I don't think we're talking about any of that. I don't think there's George Kittle had a 6-catch, 120-yard, 2-touchdown afternoon in a 49er loss, right? That doesn't happen.
You know what? I actually think Kittle could have a big game. There's been so much talk about Kelsey, and rightfully so. Kelsey's hot right now, but I mean, Kittle's really had the better year. Kittle is a little bit closer to his prime right now, and we haven't seen Kittle have that monster game in a while. And I think I think the monster game could be coming for Kittle. I mean, I know Kansas City's got Reed, Eric Reed's brother, the former Stanford star. And, but I still think, George Kittle could have a huge day, both as a run blocker for McCaffrey and as a red zone threat for Brock Purdy.
Look, Kittle and Debo are mismatches. Whose defense gets caught in the most mismatches on Sunday is a question that answers who won the game, right? Who lost the game? Who gets to catch and take advantage of the mismatches and the rare handful of opportunities? You're lucky because both these teams are so well coached. If you got 5 bona fide, that's a mismatch in this game, right? 5. Oh, God, here it is. That's the matchup you want. Hit that play, score right now. That play is going to be available just a few times in this game. And the team that hits it, the team that takes advantage of the mismatch, probably goes along to win this game. Larry, which is more likely in your mind? That Kyle Shanahan shows us a concocted level of razzle-dazzle that we had not seen in the regular season. Like he's really got the play that he's been sitting on since the night he lost the Super Bowl. Like he and his dad both got drunk one night. They drew this thing up on a napkin in Cancun thinking, all right, when you get back to the big game and it's 4th and gotta have it, this is the play you're going to run. And we're not going to see it until that moment. This is a, break in case of emergency only level play. Or, which is more likely, that razzle dazzle, holy shit, Kyle Shanahan's a genius play, or just 35-45 touches for Christian McCaffrey. Very much the exact same game plan you saw all year. Will Kyle dive deeper into his tendencies or try to catch Kansas City off guard with something they're not expecting?
Well, I mean, Kyle always does, right? The Niners are number 1 in the NFL in explosive pass rate. So I could see, I don't know if it's going to be a flea flicker, but I could definitely see some end arounds to Debo. I could see, a couple reverses. I mean, the one thing, I mean, if you look at this Chiefs defense, you say, okay, what really stands out about Kansas City's defense? Well, 1, Chris Jones, right? So you got to get Chris Jones blocked. But 2, it's the unbelievable pursuit speed that they have with Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, if he winds up playing, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, they've got some big-time guys who can really pursue. And when you have guys like that who can pursue and have great speed, the misdirection is always a great way to neutralize them and make them stay home a little bit, and not go crazy in pursuit. So I would say if they're over pursuing early in the game against McCaffrey, you're going to see some misdirection. Where maybe it's a fake to McCaffrey, but now it's a flip to Debo going the other way. So I do think there could be some razzle dazzle because Kansas City has 3 players in Gay, Bolton, and Snead that really fly to the football. And when you have that kind of speed, you can neutralize it, by making them kind of, well, wait a second, what am I seeing? And Shanahan's also known as the guy. He has the most, pre-snap, what they call eye candy, where he's trying to set up, a play, a mismatch, define a coverage, by what he does pre-snap. And that's always going to be a staple of what he does. That's kind of how he operates. So I expect more of the same. I'm more interested to see Andy Reid, who can do that. But in recent games, he did a little bit of that this week against Baltimore, but they were very conservative. They were very, very conservative. Short passes, get to 3rd and 3, look for Mahomes to run. So does Andy Reid, who kind of can dial it up with the best of them, does he get razzle dazzle mode, or does he stay incredibly simple and conservative and try not to make mistakes?
Can't wait. I can't wait. I feel like, it's funny. You get to the Super Bowl and it's this weird feeling. It feels like it's the long journey here, yet at the same time, it feels like the season just started a couple weeks ago, doesn't it? It's taken forever to get here, and it feels like this all just started all at the same time. And there is no game that sort of knocks the space-time continuum out of shape like the Super Bowl. There is no city that knocks the space-time continuum out of shape like Las Vegas. There's a reason why you can't see a clock in any of the casinos. They want you to get lost in the day or into the night. So everything is disorienting. Who can survive the most amount of disorientation survives Super Bowl week. I hope you have been prepping Kevin for his first trip to Las Vegas. Normally my number one recommendation to any young man going to Las Vegas would be, you might not want to go with your dad on your first trip, but yeah, hey, you two are going together, and it's obvious the two of you guys get along well. You got a great friendship, but maybe there are some things you want to do in Las Vegas without your dad being right there. So maybe Kevin's second trip to Las Vegas will be even more exciting than his first, but the first is going to be an awful lot of fun.
Get ready though, Damon, because Kevin is not just my son. He's also kind of the boss on the channel. So wait until you see him go, hey, guys, we need to do this video right now in front of the Sphere. Hey, guys, we need to do this interview right now. He's got a little bit of the, I'm 22 going on 42. I'm the boss. I'm going to tell
Bob Agnew in him.
I'm going to tell Larry and Damon what to do. So get ready for the 22-year-old who's telling us what to do.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Here's the thing. I take direction well. I really like the reputation that I'm hard to work with is totally unfounded. I take direction well. Point me in the right direction. Tell me where I got to be and when I got to be there, and we'll be there. We're pros. But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to all of this. We're breaking the very first rule of Vegas just in the execution of this trip. The first rule of Vegas is you never go to Las Vegas longer than 5 meals. We're going to be there longer than 5 meals. So we're breaking rule number 1 right away. I've got my tips for surviving a Super Bowl week in Las Vegas. I feel like I need to email these to Kevin. But again, I'm ready for him to be a heavy-handed, overbearing manager of what we need to do. Larry, you and I do well with direction. Like maybe we need a little direction.
Well, I told him, I said, hey man, we're gonna. He's like, Dad, I don't care. We're not just going to walk around town and just get hammered and blitzed. We're, you guys are going to have to do videos. You're going to have to do this. We're going to have to be on point. I'm going to have to be producing things. Like he's like, I'm not missing a couple days of school to go to Vegas to just party. We're going to blow up the channel, or we're not doing this. I'm like, all right.
And this is where I'll have young Kevin come sit down on Uncle Damon's lap. I'll pet his head, and I'll just say, "You're adorable.
That's very thick hair.
You're adorable, and you're so new here. Look at you with all of your Las Vegas, I'm coming to work hard aspirations. This town tears that apart, young man." Yes, we want to do things for the channel, but if you go to Las Vegas and if it's just a work trip, you have done it wrong.
Third string all pro says, Larry, Kevin, all these rules, I'm going to leave you behind. Kevin Allen says, LMAO, your son is all business. Google is Skynet. Says Kev, the life of the party.
I mean, how all business can he could be when he hasn't made his bed for a single video that he shot all year.
Third string all pro says, don't pull a Biden. Damon's going to pull a Biden and sniff Kevin's hair.
I'm going to do a little shoulder rub, smelling his ear.
Google is Skynet, Kevin's father, LOL. Here we go. Over under, who pukes first, Larry or Damon? Now you gave you a Damien there. Look at that. You haven't had a Damien in a while. I haven't had a
Damien in a long time. You know what, that feels intentional is what that feels
like. Look at this one. Words of wisdom. FYI, the Sphere tour inside, overrated. You have been warned.
Yeah, I'm not going on any inside Sphere tour. I'll be
for like $50 too. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. We'll do stuff in front of the Sphere.
Down. Yes. I'll be going inside when it's time for a rock concert.
Greg says Kevin is the glue that holds this show together.
He is our glue guy.
Yeah, seriously.
He's the Kevon Looney of what we're doing.
He's the money man on our channel. There's no question. I'm sitting right now at 37,401 subscribers. Kev's videos and live streams, 4.2 million views of the live streams and videos in the last 4 weeks alone. So the channel is absolutely blowing up. Kev's a huge part of the channel blowing up. So we appreciate him. And I told him, I said, we will do our work. You got to let us play a little bit. Well, we will do our work, and we're motivated. We can do both. We can kick ass and get views and do videos and live streams, and we can, have a little fun as well.
We know how to do this, Kevin. We've been doing this a little bit longer than you. You got to trust your elders at times. We love your enthusiasm. No, but Kevin really has been great, and what he's done for your channel, Larry, it has been very impressive. What he's done for my channel in a short amount of time is just as impressive. I mean, there's no way that I would be sitting at, nearly 17,000 subscribers. We're at better than 16.7 this morning. And Kevin, since November, has put thousands of subscribers onto my channel through the incredible videos and mashups and the content he's creating. The shorts on YouTube are just little like snacks. They're like little amuse-bouches you hand out at the party. It doesn't fill anybody up, but it brings a lot of people to your channel. And an awful lot of people have discovered my channel through the content that Kevin has created. So he's done a great job, and he absolutely deserves to be coming on this trip. I'm glad that he's coming on this trip because he's worked his fanny off for both of us all year long, and he's done an incredible job. So let's have a really really good time.
Eric Hernandez, Mrs. Krueger is going to be very mad if something happens to Kevin. Very mad. That doesn't even. She'll be the volcanic temper of my wife will bubble to the surface if anything happens.
Something. What's the something? What is the something that happened to Kevin?
I don't know. But that's always that's the other part. It's like we don't get that list. It's like that's like for her to decide later. And your wife has weighed in. Says Kevin is the MVP of whatever this is.
No doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
Here we go. Here's good advice. 49er Sports Talk. Drink, hydrate, eat, hydrate, drink, hydrate. There you go.
Mix in a pace car. Again, it should look, Las Vegas should have a little fuzzy around the edges buzz about you. From the moment you wake up, from the moment you go to bed. I'm going to tell you right now, Las Vegas is the only place in the world where my first drink of the day is a White Russian.
Really? Oh, you go White Russian? I thought you were going Bloody Mary with the tomato juice.
No, I do White Russians in Las Vegas and Las Vegas only.
I've heard that.
Yeah, it's.
I go Stoli Greyhounds early.
Okay,
a little grapefruit juice, grapefruit juice with a little vodka.
You want a little beer buzz as you go about through your entire day, but the key is to every third drink, mix in a water. Just one water. Just shoot a water like it's a just 8 ounces of water, 12 ounces of water. Mix in that pace car. It keeps you going.
Google is Skynet's Larry Krueger here, coming to you live from the gutter with a little 49er video.
Hi, everybody. We're here for Pig in the Pickle. It's the two of us laying in a ditch somewhere.
Third string All-Pro. Kevin went to Vegas as a boy. He came back as a man. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Look at it this way. Kevin went to Las Vegas with a girlfriend. He came home without one.
What sport? 49er Sports Talk. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Except herpes. That comes
home. Oh, man. Yeah, but we're going to try to produce 1 million views this week. And it's going to be incredible. And we're off to a rousing start because we got 1,300 plus people in the room. And let me tell you all tonight, at 6 o'clock, there'll be a very, very special guest stopping by the Krug show. Do I dare say it? I believe tonight at 6, the great Steve Young will stop by.
Ooh.
So look for that later on tonight. I gave Steve just played the AT&T. I want to talk to him about Brock Purdy. So we're going to get Super Bowl week off to a rousing start with Mr. Young at 6 tonight.
How about that? He's not Steve Young, but he is certainly the man when it comes to mornings in Kansas City. Bob Fesco is going to be joining me to go behind enemy lines and talk a little bit more about the Chiefs, what makes them tick, coming up at 11 o'clock today. Larry, I'm flying in Wednesday morning. You and Kevin are arriving in Las Vegas at what time on Wednesday? Is that the plan? You show up Wednesday afternoon, evening?
No, we'll be there Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning, we will be in Las Vegas. 49ers will be at the Niner media availability 49 at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, but we plan on hitting Vegas early morning on Wednesday and taking it from there, man.
I like it. I like it an awful lot, man. It's going to be a great time. Any more super chats that we need to get to here?
We do. Let's see here.
Get 'em up.
Let's see. Where do we finish the last one?
NorCal Refrigeration HVAC. Who's going to say we need some blow first, Damon or Larry? Look at it this way. Pre-stroke Damon would have said that out loud, but not post-stroke Damon. No more El Coco Loco. None. No, we don't do that.
Yeah, that's not my game. Not my game. JD said if Kyle forgets about Debo like he did in the Super Bowl. Okay, I think we got that. Did we get this one? Steven C. The Raiders beat the Chiefs with Jimmy doing his best throwaway of the game.
Yeah. Yes,
we got that one. Cryptic. Key to number 6. Don't let Mahomes get to that. That's the last one. Okay, here we go. We got some new ones here. Carson Taylor. What do you think the Warriors need to do, Larry?
Not piss away Steph Curry's 60-point efforts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say trade CP3, Chris Paul, and I would trade Klay Thompson, but that's just me. I would definitely try to make a move or two before the deadline, shake it up a little bit.
It's going to be hard to trade Klay for anything. We've been denying no one's been wanting to say this, right?
But somebody might give you somebody who's equally unimpressive that you might think is got something more. I mean,
Clay,
what are you going to get for Clay? You're going to get an expensive player that has flaws that his team wants to get out from underneath the deal. I'll give you an example. What would you think of a deal involving Ben Simmons? Would you take Ben Simmons? Because you could probably make a deal with Brooklyn if because they got big money tied to Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is broken.
He is,
but he's also young and he's dynamic.
So you want me to replace a guy
who can flat out shoot with a guy who can't shoot?
Well, that's the thing. But can Clay flat out shoot anymore? And that's a legitimate question. I mean, there's a massive fork sticking out of Klay Thompson's back.
Nobody's going to take him, Damon, for his ability. They're only going to take him for his expiring. The fact that he's a $43 million expiring. That's what the value of Clay is. Now, maybe the Warriors want that. Maybe Joe wants to get underneath the second apron or whatever the hell they call it in the NBA and have, that's possible. Very possible. But I would say that's the kind of move where you're going to trade Clay to somebody for a flawed player who's got multiple years ahead on their contract. So it's going to be a gamble. I mean, and I don't know what the answer is, but I would consider doing that. He
was terrible this weekend. Clay was.
He his struggles are bringing the team down at this point.
Right.
Bomber 78 says, guys, what are your score predictions? Well, it's funny. I'll probably move it around as the week goes on, but I like the Niners to win this game. The Chiefs, the key number is 21 points. They don't give up a lot of points, period. When they score 21, they win. So that's really it. Kansas City, when they get to, they're 10-0 when they score 21. So I'll say the Niners win 31-20.
So a win and a cover in an easy breezy afternoon. I mean, that's an 11-point win in a Super Bowl. That's an easy breezy afternoon.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? I think the Niners under Purdy score 30 a game. And I think the Chiefs win all the time when they score 21 or more. So I'll give them 20. And I think the 49ers get the win, 31-20.
I think the 49ers get to win. I still got to think more about the prediction. 31-28 is the number I hear coming in an awful lot. The Jake Moody game-winning field goal. Oh, my God. That would just be the exclamation point on the win if that were to happen. Favorites are 8-13 against the spread in the last 23 Super Bowls. The over is hit in 10 of 17 Super Bowls, with the total being under 50 points since 1990. This is the first Super Bowl since 2015 with an over-under of less than 48 points. So people think that this is going to be more of a defensive game than watch offenses explode in a people think it might be a defensive football game. And if offenses are exploding, 49ers offense should explode a little more.
Remember this, Kansas City is 23rd in the NFL in giveaways. They've given the ball away 23 times this year, and they ranked 23rd in the NFL in that category. They also led the NFL in the most drop passes. If you can force them to put the ball in the air and cover Kelsey, I think you can get turnovers, and I think you can get drops, and I think you can beat them. If they can play the game they want to play, which is run the ball behind their three interior linemen with Pacheco, get to third and short and run Mahomes, beat you on a couple of pass plays, and their defense, that's the way they want to win. But if you can get a lead on them, and the Niners haven't gotten a lead yet in this playoffs, if they can get a lead in these playoffs, put a little pressure on Mahomes off the edges and make Mahomes throw it to Rashee Rice and MVS and more than he wants to throw it, I think 49ers can get the win. I
How
really
about
do.
this? This is the bad omen. Here's what I don't like sharing with you. Teams like San Francisco have reached the Super Bowl without covering either playoff game en route to the Super Bowl, are 1-5 straight up and against the spread in the Super Bowl since 2000. Only the 2009 Saints over the Colts were the last team to be unimpressive en route to a Super Bowl and then win it. So,
Yeah, and they needed a trick play to steal a possession in that game, by the way, the Saints did. RG says if our run D shows up, we win. It takes away play action and puts them behind the sticks. And Lawless Light says MVP pick. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's 20-5 with the Niners. They're scoring 30 a game with Brock. He's a top 5 player when pressured, when not pressured, versus man, when blitzed, when not blitzed. In the fourth quarter, in the red zone, in the pocket, on throws outside the numbers. Brock Purdy's had an incredible year. I'm going to say Brock Purdy.
Just to be different, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey because to me, he is, I think, a candidate for the type of workload that gets the consideration for MVP hoisted upon the running back instead of the quarterback. I could see Brock being the guy who punches in that touchdown after, McCaffrey's a touchdown machine. And if anyone comes out of this Super Bowl with multiple scored touchdowns, maybe 2-3 for Christian McCaffrey, that sounds like enough to possibly take home an MVP. So it's easy to say either quarterback would be first up to bat. Beyond that, Brock Purdy. After that, I'd be looking for maybe Debo or George Kittle to play spoiler and walk away with a huge game and the accolade that is Super Bowl winning MVP.
Postman and Capitola says win or lose is Steve Wilkes the DC next year. Win, that means he probably shut down Mahomes, and I say yes. Lose, and I say no. I don't want to say he'll be scapegoated, but somebody will take the blame, and they'll have to make some big move, and it'll probably be him.
Again, who's the replacement? I don't want to talk about how Steve Wilkes has got to go until you tell me who's coming. Who's the right replacement? If you find the right replacement, here's the thing. If you think you can get better this offseason by hiring someone else, win, lose, or draw, you make that hire, right? I mean, there's no such thing as staying the same in sports. You're either getting better or worse at all times. So I like Steve Wilkes. I think he's been a convenient whipping post for an awful lot of the complaints that 49er fans have had. I think Talanoa Hufanga's absence has probably done more to hurt this defense than Steve Wilkes has. But we'll see. And here's the deal. It's not time to be asking any postseason questions. We'll get to that. We'll have that next Monday. How about this? Next Monday will be the right show to start talking about what postseason options could be available for the 49ers. But this Monday, it's all about focusing on what's ahead this Sunday, and that is Super Bowl 58 live from Las Vegas. And Larry, I know you got to run. I know you got some TV.
I do have to jet. I'm doing a TV hit with a good friend in Miami. I'm here in Jacksonville with Trayvon Walker and the boys, and I'm going to tell Coach that you said hi, Damon. I'm going to go tell Peterson, hey, man, Damon says go with a hat and get rid of the visor. And I'm going to tell him that. I'm going to tell Damon will ask a tough question. He asked me about Christmas dish side dishes once, and I didn't want to answer. You know what I mean, Damon?
Well, I tell you right now, Trent, let's get our facts straight. That was a question about Thanksgiving, not Christmas. So get your holidays correct if you're going to criticize my partner here, Damon, because Tommy wouldn't tolerate it, and certainly Tate wouldn't tolerate it, and we don't have any room in the Miata for your bullshit, so we're not going to do that.
There goes Trent. He's always talking holidays. And I should say this in advance of me taking vacation now on February the 5th for the rest of the year. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is that you celebrate. God bless you. From me, from Tate, from Tommy.
Day. I might take this to January 15th. I don't know.
Oh, I got one last thing to say is go Sharks. Go Sharks.
We'll be back Friday with Wake Up from Las Vegas and a whole bunch of Damon and Larry coming to you either together or on our own channels. Lean in this week. Watch as much as you can. Thank you for supporting everything we do. And it was great having you here today. Let's go get it. Let's go get a Super Bowl, Larry, and bring it back to the city. See what happens.
I told Jed we need that 6th Lombardi, and Jimmy and I, Coach and I, couldn't get it done against the damn Ravens. I said, let's run Frank Gore. Jimmy said, no, I'd rather hand it to LaMichael James. So, once again, when things go wrong, I never blame myself for drafting LaMichael James. I blame Coach for using LaMichael James.